Hey everybody, Wilson here with Cabinet Startup, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 5 biggest mistakes that we see new business owners making. And if you like the content, you like what you see today in this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll get right into it. So the first and probably biggest mistake that we see new business owners making is they don't have an actual plan or strategy for generating business. And this is something that drives me up the wall personally, because we talk to so many guys, they want to start a business, and so they're like, man, I know how to do this skill. So they go out and they buy a car, and with our case, they usually buy a truck, right? But they go buy a truck, they go buy tools, they go rent a location, they go get their truck wrapped, they go get business cards, hats, shirts, you name it. They spend all kinds of money on all of this different stuff, and then they go to the office and they sit around and they wait for business to come in. And it feels like a crazy way to do things, because in reality, what you should be spending all of that time and energy on in the very beginning, outside of the very basics of making sure your business is set up the right way, is how to actually get clients. Right? Getting clients should be your first, and in the very beginning, your only priority. A mentor of mine once said, and this is something I will repeat until the day I die, a business without customers is a hobby, and hobbies don't pay the bills. And so the first and biggest mistake we see people making is that they don't have a plan. And part of the reason this plan is so important, especially in today's day and age, is, if you think about it, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even, before social media was a big thing, referrals were a pretty common practice. I mean, it wasn't unusual or strange at all for somebody, when they're thinking about getting work done, to call up a friend or to call up a neighbor and say, hey, do you guys know, for example, who I might call to, get my cabinets done? But these days, people are a lot less likely to call up one of their neighbors and ask, as they are to actually just get on the internet and type in that same question on Google. And so a lot of referral and word of mouth has been replaced by your ability to do online advertising. And so if you're going to start a business, the first thing you need to plan for, and the biggest mistake we see people make, is you need to have a system for generating business. You can't rely, especially in the beginning, just on word of mouth. Number 2, once you have all these leads that you spent this time developing the system to go get, you need to know what you're going to do with them. One of the mistakes that we see happen all the time with tradespeople is they don't want to be salesy. They want to be the type of person that's coming across as pushy, or like trying too hard to get the business. And it's almost like an aversion to being a salesy person prevents them from doing anything about or related to sales. So they don't have systems for how they're following up with people. They don't have, a CRM. They don't have a mailing tool. They don't have a way of sending out email marketing campaigns. They usually don't have any text message marketing campaigns. All of these tools that are available to help convert deals, even, working up into the point of when you're actually in the sale, they don't worry about that. And then taking it a step further, they don't have a process for, when they're actually in the sales appointment. And there's so many reasons why this is bad, right? Even if you were super talented at sales, right? If you are just an absolute natural and you know everything right out of the gates, if you don't have a system for actually following up and tracking leads, if you don't have a way of, keeping in your mind or keeping at the forefront of your thoughts who you're supposed to be following up with and when you're supposed to actually follow up with them, then what's going to happen is potential customers are going to fall through the cracks, right? The reality is that, with our companies, even though we have really good developed scripts and systems, we still talk to the average homeowner multiple times in order to close a deal, right? We definitely have some deals that close on the first time, and we love those. But as a rule, most of our business comes from follow-ups. If you don't have a system in place for that follow-up, I can promise you, you are throwing away money. And so the second thing that we see is the biggest challenge that new business owners have is they don't have a system for actually following up, or for tracking their leads, for knowing where somebody's at, who they should be talking to, and who they should. The third thing is, and you guys will see there's kind of a pattern here, right? A lot of it comes down to systems, right? Because what systems do is they take our natural ability to do things and they multiply that, right? It's giving ourselves exponentially more capability to take care of the things in our business. And the third biggest mistake that we see people making is they don't track their money. And it sounds crazy to say this out loud, but so many contractors do not track their money, right? They don't know how much money came in that month. They don't know how much money was spent that month. They're not actually tracking and saying, okay, what was my highest profit per unit time job, right? What are the jobs that cost me the least in terms of marketing to get, right? What are the jobs that the easiest, right? Even if it takes a little more time, what's the easiest so I can scale it? And the reason it's so important that we track these numbers, especially when it comes to money, is if I don't know how much money I actually spent, and I don't know how much money I made, I really can't do anything with my business. It's really about stability, and the ability to project into the future is what gives us the capability to make those future plans. So if I know I made $7,000 last month or $70,000 last month, whatever the number is, if we say, okay, we made 10 grand last month in revenue and our expenses were $2,000, we've got $8,000 of profit to work with, right? I can then say, cool, well, I can invest $4,000 into marketing and I'm good. It doesn't matter. I have, still $4,000 left to play over. Whereas if I have $10,000 in revenue and $8,000 in expenses, now I only have $2,000 left over. And that gives me an entirely different outlook on how I'm going to try and grow and scale my business. If I don't know those numbers, I cannot make educated decisions. And worse than that, it gives me almost no capacity to understand where the decision I'm trying to make falls in terms of the good idea or bad idea, right? If I'm going to spend $4 grand on marketing, but I made $8 grand in profit last month, it's not a big deal, right? And I can see that and know that, and I can act with that confidence. And so one of the biggest mistakes we see is people not tracking their numbers at all. The fourth big challenge that we see with new business owners is they don't have any kind of project management system. And it's not just a software for project management. I mean, they don't have any type of flow or pattern to the work that they're doing, right? So for example, if you were to come to one of our cabin refinishing shops, you were to come follow us for a day, you would see that when we start a job, from the time we start a job all the way until that job is completely done, we know exactly what steps we're going to do. We know exactly what order they're going to happen and how long each of those steps should take. And then separate from that, we have a whole system and software that's designed to track each and every one of those steps as they occur. What happens is when you have that system for tracking that, when something gets stuck, we know it got stuck. We can see our system actually says, hey, there's an alert. This thing's been stuck here for 4 days. It should never be there that long. What's going on? And we can actually go look and see what happened. And the reason this is so important is, aside from you making sure that the quality of work is the same on every job, it also gives you the ability to better interact and communicate with your homeowners. And these are the same homeowners that are responsible for creating these 5-star reviews. And these 5-star reviews are the things going to help the clients who found you through that social media marketing that we set up at step 1, right? And so it's really important that you have a system for tracking where your projects are at. The other thing it enables you to do is, when you're tracking these projects, you can see what projects take the most time, right? You can see which projects take the most energy. And it may be that you can determine, okay, cool, when I do this certain type of job, like let's say for us, sometimes custom cabinetry work as a part of a job that we close, we may look at it and go, hey, our average custom cabinetry job costs us more money than a similar job just refinishing or refacing would. But we're getting the same amount of pay, so those jobs are less profitable. So if we could tell those homeowners no and have enough homeowners to replace them with just refinishing and refacing jobs, we would make more money. And so we can then look at that as a business owner and go, nope, you know what, based on what we're seeing in the project management tool and in our finance tool, these jobs don't make sense. And so it's really important that, again, the fourth biggest thing that we see is people don't have a project management tool, so they can't track these things. And then the fifth and the final biggest mistake that we see new business owners make is they don't have a list of daily priorities. This is a little bit different than the other four, but I mean, you could make the argument in some ways that this could be the most important, right? The reason it's so important for you to have daily priorities, for you to know when you wake up, which are three most important things you're going to do that day is when you are the owner of a new business, you're responsible for wearing every single hat. It's like 9 a.m. There's my marketing hat. Got to work on the marketing. It's like, boom, 10 a.m. Here's my sales hat. Got to go on a sales call. Then you got to go out to a customer's house. You got to go measure things. So you put on your contractor hat. And then you got to go home and you call a customer, deal with customer support. And now you got your customer support hat. And so you're wearing all of these different hats and you're responsible for all of these different tasks. And so what ends up happening is when you have all of these different things coming at you from all directions, it can be very easy to be caught up in just doing whatever task is next on your list. And for most business owners, that's the vast majority of people, that's how they run their business. The problem with doing that is there are always going to be so many tasks on any given day that if you just go through whatever tasks need to get done, you will neglect those tasks which are most important to actually move your business forward, right? So think about it. I may have a customer that needs me to come back and touch up something at their house. And I may also need to go out and call some new leads. And so I may decide as a business owner, well, you know, the touch-up thing was first, and they asked me that earlier, so I'll just go do that, and I'll call these leads later, right? And there are many cases that I can point out, even with students that we've worked with, where that's been their focus. You know, they're going back and they're fixing old jobs. And because that task is, you know, top of mind, they're doing that instead of focusing on something like sales. The sales pipeline starts to fade out. And sure enough, they wake up, the business is now short on money. All these customers are happy, but it didn't bring them a bunch of new capital. And they now have to go try and rebuild an entire sales pipeline from scratch. And so the ability to prioritize and say, okay, cool, this is what I'm going to spend my time on today. This is going to be the most effective use of my time for me to move forward in my business. And to make sure that on any given day, come hell or high water, those tasks get done, right, is an essential step for moving your business forward as an effective business owner. And it's one of the biggest things that we see new business owners not actually doing. And I'll actually add on as a bonus, maybe number 6, but really it ties into number 5, because number 5 is not having daily priorities, right? Not knowing what the key things they have to get done on that day are. But the 6th thing that's related to that, right? The bigger picture there is you have to have a strategic growth plan. And so I guess number 6 is the average new business owner does not have a strategic growth plan. They don't actually know where they're going, and they don't have a timeline for how they're going to get there, right? It's like if somebody came to you and said, you know, man, I really want to go to a beach someday. You probably wouldn't be too confident in their vacation plans, right? And for a lot of business owners, growing their business kind of the same way. It's like, what do you want to do this year? Like, we want to grow our business. Okay, what do you mean? Right? Do you want to double your revenue? Do you want to double the size of your team? Do you want to double your marketing efforts? Do you want to, you know, double the number of customers you put through? Like when you grow your business, do you want a 10x? Do you want a 3x? You need to actually know where you're going. And so one of the things that we see happens with a lot of new business owners, and this kind of goes into that same issue of wearing so many hats, because they don't take the time to go, okay, where do I want my business to be and how do I see myself getting there? What ends up happening is they just focus on the day-to-day tasks. And it's very hard, if you don't understand exactly where you're going, to prioritize which tasks are most important. And so if you're a new business owner or you find yourself struggling, I absolutely 100% recommend that 1, you try and develop for yourself a strategic growth plan, and 2, you develop a system for prioritizing your daily tasks based on that strategic growth plan. And so I hope this video has been helpful. If you like it, make sure to click the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.